And we've given a lot of love to Croatia after their performance in the group stages, but they were a bit flat.
Well, the difference here was, and the difference with this game and the Argentina game, they were playing a dishevelled, disorganised Argentina that left pockets of holes that Rakitic and Modric in particular, Mandzukic, Perisic could operate in. The one thing Denmark are, like a few teams, like Russia, like Sweden, like Switzerland, they're not always great in the eye, but they're super organised. And that, for somebody like Croatia, just made it more problematic. And I'd say I didn't think Denmark could be as competitive as they were in the whole tournament and in this game, but credit to them for it. But I think we'll see a better Croatia possibly against Russia if they get space to operate.
Yeah.
What about Luka Modric, right? You miss a penalty, but you have a penalty saved in extra time, and you still step up and you take a penalty in the shootout.
Yeah.
And score it.
Right, and score it, albeit just centimeters away from the toe of Schmeichel. But yeah, that's confidence. Yeah, and I think for me the difference in this game is both teams were really good on second balls. There's a lot of balls, whether they're throw-ins from Denmark into the penalty area, and the surprising thing for me in Croatia was there was times when Modric or Rakitic had actual space in front of them, and they still elected to play the diagonal ball over the top or go long instead of driving into that space. And you saw in extra time and in the overtime period that they started taking that space and getting more chances and causing more problems. But having said that, they come out on the end on top at the penalties, and you'll see. I agree. You'll see a different Croatia team.
To your point, I don't care how confident you are. I don't care what level of player you are. If you had just missed a penalty, that would have given you the win, and now you have to go into a penalty kick shootout, and then everybody's looking at you. Your team captain, you're Luka Modric, you're one of the guys. You're going to have to grab that ball. There are nerves there. Of course there's nerves. I don't care how confident you are. You're thinking, I'm going to score this, but there's a part of your mind that is also saying, well, what if I miss this?
Yeah, of course.
What happens now? And so he stepped up, and it was a nervous penalty. He goes down the middle and barely makes it through. But in the end, Croatia, I think the better team advances, although there were times in this game where Denmark, it's just that they took Croatia to a point in which Denmark were creating opportunities. They just don't have enough in the attacking half. And in the end, it's just see you later, Denmark. Croatia moves on, and I think they have a real opportunity to truly advance in the tournament.
Imagine. What numbers do you want to take it, Luka? You'd be like that.
Oh, yeah.
11.
Let me think. Maybe 4.
But it was a crazy game because obviously you saw the first 2 goals coming in the opening 4 minutes.
Yeah.
You thought, wow, anything can happen here.
Yeah,
Then nothing happened.
Yeah, it looked really lively, didn't it? Then
Yeah.
both teams just settled back, as the stats show. Croatia had slightly more of the ball, but Denmark, as we all thought, were very organised. We're going to try and hit them on the counter-attack. We're very strong physically, worked hard. So it was a close enough game. I think I'm with Ali. I think Croatia probably just deserved to go through, but we expected the quality to be much better than we saw.
Let's start, shall we, with Russia against Spain. And as much as you want to credit Russia for doing what they did, they defended brilliantly throughout. For Spain, they lost this game.
Oh yeah, they were really disappointing, weren't they? They were caught between two styles, whether to want to pass the ball around nicely, or play to Diego Costa up front. For the love of I mean, I love Fernando Hierro, but why he chose 5 midfielders and had Koke further back in defensive areas than Busquets, and then 3 of the same players in front, when they knew they were going to control the game and have more possession. And they couldn't change it. They haven't got the personnel up front, unfortunately. They had in the past, they haven't now. Aspas, Rodrigo, Diego Costa, the way they play is not the style for them.
Over 1,000 passes in the game, the stat that kind of sums it up. Isco had 132, 12 of them went forward.
I mean, team selection, as Maka said, you've got you've got one of the best attacking fullbacks in world football on the bench in Carvajal. You've got arguably one of the best passes of a ball that's ever been in the game. One of the best unlocking a defence that's ever been in a game in Iniesta. In a game where, who's on the bench, in a game where you're going to have 75-80% possession, they're going to have everybody behind the ball, and he's not playing. So that was strange for starters. The other side of the coin was, I don't know who I was more bored with, Russia or Spain, because I expected Russia to do what they did.
Sure.
But I didn't expect Spain to play as slowly, the passes were going back the way. And for God's sake, you don't have to score the perfect goal every time that's going to win goal of the tournament by 25 passes and then dribbling it into the goal. Have a shot. pop it up to Costa, follow you. I know it's tight there, but play it around the corner, follow it, and get some strikes, because one of the weak points in Russia is Akinfeev, the goalkeeper.
Yep.
He's got a blunder in him. But if you're not getting strikes at goal, he's just happy to let his defence do the job in front of him, and then he mops up whenever he can. I thought it was pretty dreadful from Spain.
And Diego Costa never got a kick today, did he? No. He tried his best. He ran across the line and showed. But anything that went up to him only went up to him from about 15 yards. Nobody pumped a ball up, when Russia were attacking. Nobody cleared the lines and let him do what he does best.
And that was the
and
crazy
it was really
thing.
Disappointing.
When you have someone who has the ability, Diego Costa, to hold the ball up and be able to either win a header or at least hold the ball up and connect to a certain pass, the problem was they didn't have anybody underneath. I mean, you could have put Silva closer to him. You could have put somebody that basically allowed that outlet straight forward, even if it was just 15 yards, because let's face it, Russia sat back into that they were probably 15 yards from front to back, and to get an opening to have a shot from distance is difficult even then. So
you're going to
adds to your point,
the corner and try and follow and get some strikes.
And second balls. Then you get people up closer to, if you're going to play the ball in. You look at their goal. Their goal comes on a ball that comes in from wide, and it wasn't even them who touched it. Yeah. I mean, it can be ugly, and it wasn't for Spain. It was just dreadfully boring.
I think David Silva typified Spain for me. David Silva, like a lot of them, didn't have a good competition. But I tell you what, his worst performance for Man City is an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Every week, 8 out of 10 minimum, right? But even he was off his game.
We mentioned Diego Costa. They don't even look to playing to Diego Costa at times. It's like he's running by himself in a different game entirely. Outside of that, there's a lot of sideways and back passing, right? And it's back and it's sideways and back and sideways and back again. And they do that time and time again. At some point, I was wondering, okay, if you have Marco Asensio on the field, because he's going to go take somebody on, because that's the one guy that is out on the field that perhaps can beat somebody in a 1v1 situation. If he's able to break somebody down, then everybody else from Russia has to adapt to that, have to react to that. So you break your guy, 1v1, now somebody slides over, then there's a space to play. Never, ever during the course of 120 minutes did we see really Spain trying to take somebody on. So it's just passing. And let's not forget, because we can criticize Spain as to what they did or didn't do offensively, but they're winning the game 1-0, and it's the height of stupidity by Gerard Piqué on the penalty kick. What is he doing? So at 1-0, at some point, Russia was going to have to come up. If you just keep the ball, and that's what you're going to do with Spain, you're going to win the game 1-0. Russia doesn't have enough in the attack. But then on what in the world is going on through his head when he goes up for the header, then brings the arms down, and then says, you know what, it's a good idea now that we have VAR in the game and they can really see this and take another look at this. Let me put my arm up again. It's incredible amount of stupidity for a player of that caliber, for a player of that level. Should not happen. Spain should have won this game one way or another. Even if it was ugly offensively, they still were up 1-0, and Russia should not be scoring on Spain regardless.
Let's bring in our Spanish football expert, Sid Lowe, to the show. Sid, who's getting the blame?
Well, I think tomorrow we'll see this really kind of be talked through. But what's happened, and I think this is very interesting, and it speaks very clearly to what you lot are talking about in terms of the role of Diego Costa, is over the last week, there's been a discussion in Spain, I think for the very first time since 2008, or certainly since 2010 when Spain won the World Cup, about the style. About not just whether or not you play well, but how you play, how you go about the game. And there have been people talking about the need for a revolution in the Spanish team, not just in terms of, we take this guy out, we take that guy out, we change players, but we change the way we play. And Hierro has defended Spain's style, but made changes today, which I think were concessions to a different type of style. So if you're saying, right, I want to keep the ball, I want to play possession football, but then you put Coque in instead of Thiago, I want to play that Spanish style, but you've got Costa still in the side, and you don't put, for example, Iago Aspas in there. I want to play that style, but you take Andres Iniesta out. And I think what we saw today was this kind of awkward, hybrid Spanish team that was neither one thing nor the other. And to put this in very simple terms for you, I was really struck by this. When Russia scored the penalty, that was their second shot on goal. Spain had still not had any. They were 1-0 up because of an own goal. They had not had any shots in that first half. And as you were all rightly saying, you can play long to Costa. But if that's not your style, don't do it. In which case, don't play Costa. Do something else. And I think Spain lacked a clarity in terms of what it is they wanted to do as they came into this game, and then, of course, all the way through the game as well.
We talked, of course, at length going into this World Cup about what happened, boys, regarding Lopetegui, Hierro coming in, how much of a difference does that make to what we saw today? How much you lay the blame at Lopetegui still or at the Spanish FA?
Well, I mean, the way that Lopetegui went about, I've got no problem with the Spanish FA because the way Lopetegui signed a contract without informing them, 2 or 3 days before the World Cup is bang out of order, and he should be gone, to be very honest. And I've got no problem with that. And the team would have invariably picked itself. It was just the style of play and the way they couldn't change it from style A to style B. As Ali said, Asensio wide or Lucas Vazquez, somebody play wide who can take a man on to try and unlock the defence to go round the outside. Asensio played today and cut inside every single time onto his left foot. Lucas Vazquez didn't play today, but has played and has played poorly. To have Koke and Busquets on, Busquets is one of the best sitting midfielders that we've got and that we've ever seen. Yeah, he played further forward because Koke was there. It's like against Russia, you don't need to do that because you're going to dominate possession. You've got 2 defensive midfielders and the 2 centre defenders behind you who are more than capable of bringing the ball out into defence and committing midfielders. So whoever was picking the team or whether Fernando Hierro was under pressure from certain quarters to choose people, I just thought his decision-making today was really bad. You'd have Iniesta playing in this game all day long, regardless of the criticism that he's received, because he's much better than the other midfielders they've got.
That being said, who they had on the field was still more than enough to win this game. They didn't apply themselves properly. They played the game as if they thought it was just going to happen. We'll have 60-70% possession, and eventually it will happen, and we'll break them down. And you can clearly see Russia were playing for one thing, and one thing only. It was evident from about an hour onwards. But you've got to move the ball quicker. You've got to have more drive. And they had to okay, you can talk about Iniesta not playing, which we have, and you can talk about Carvajal and the rest of them. But that Spain side, if it played to its full potential at pace, would have won that game.
They haven't played to the full potential at pace. The warning signs with Morocco, they got the late goal by Aspas, and they did exactly the same. They were 2-1 down, and they went side to side to side, and there was no penetration at all. And again, they get a cross, and the Aspas goal goes in off a quick corner eventually. But it wasn't, this great goal that they've scored. It's a bit like Germany. The warning signs have been there all along. And sometimes you must just think, whether it's arrogance, we've done it before, we'll just click into gear, it'll be fine this next game. And they've come really unstuck, and they'll get criticised heavily for it, because this was one of the worst performances I've seen for a while, forgetting possession nonsense stats and passing ability.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that. They'll be out for you.
Yeah, to your point, Spain, 4 matches in this World Cup, 3 draws. Right? Yeah. And it's not like they play the highest quality of competition, right? And the game that they did win was against Iran on a knee bash goal by Diego Costa. That was an accidental goal. That's the sort of level that we've seen from Spain. And so we thought that they would be better, but maybe they're not. Maybe this is the version of Spain, and until they don't sort out what is it that Diego Costa does for this team, or whoever plays up front for this team, then you're not going to go anywhere, because you have no other options. You don't know any other options, and you haven't implemented any other options as part of your style. You said that this is your style. At some point, you have to adjust during the match, and that is something that Spain does very poorly.
And maybe it's the end of their cycle.
Yeah.
We've had it with Germany. We're certainly going to have it with Argentina, aren't we? It's the end of a lot of their big players, and it's certainly going to be the end of a lot of the good players from Spain now, because it just looked as if they just had enough now.
Well, they've got most of these players are having a winter break.
That's obviously Sid, I imagine it's all going to unravel more over the next few days regarding the Spanish media and the coverage of what happened at the start of the tournament regarding Lopetegui and the Spanish FA. But how much blame can be put to the door of that situation from what we saw today?
Well, of course, that's what begins all of this. That's the conditioning factor. And actually, Fernando Hierro post-game, who, bear in mind that when he comes in, he talks immediately about, right, this is a difficult situation, very tough, but we're going to walk through it and we're going to come out the other side. And then he even said at the very start, I'm not going to change very much. We're just going to kind of calm this down and move on. Today, he went back to it. And today he said, look, I took over 3 days before the Portugal game, 3 days before our World Cup started. And I think what he was doing was...
What a World Cup it's been. Now another favorite, Spain, has been sent packing courtesy of the host nation, Russia after defeating the Spaniards on penalty. Stevie Nicol is here with me on this one, and it's a miracle how we were still awake after the first, two halves and then extra time, because between Spain trying to walk the ball into the net and Russia sitting all the way back, that Stevie said if they went any further, they'd need tickets to get back into the stadium. Yep. It was not the most beautiful of games, Stevie, but let's talk about Spain, because that's where we have to start. Where did it go so terribly wrong for them?
Listen, there's a lot to be said for having possession and territorial advantage, but if you don't use it properly, then what happened against Russia can keep happening. Spain inside the attacking third had no ideas, and you talk about Asensio and Iniesta coming on. David Silva was there. Isco. Now, you would think one of those would be able to produce something. Even Diego Costa was anonymous because he couldn't fight anybody, because nobody wanted to fight him. They were just too comfortable. So this is what happens when you don't use the firepower you have. So
who do you blame there? Do you go all the way to the top at Hierro now? Did he get anything tactically wrong?
No, not at all. Listen, they lost a freak penalty when Piqué handled the ball. Other than that,
they had another penalty shout late in the game. Did you think that was a pen?
No. There are far too many players pulling and pushing each other to try and figure out who's doing it the most or who started it. So no, I have no problem with that. Listen, at the end of the day, in the attacking third of the field, they had enough possession, Spain. You can't look at Hierro and say he did anything wrong. He didn't pick the wrong team. I would have played all these guys as well. They had an opportunity. It was in the hands of the players, and the players couldn't produce it.
All right, well, now we have to shift focus to Russia, believe it or not, because they are in the quarterfinals of this World Cup. On the other side, it will either be Croatia or Denmark that await them, Stevie. So now people will start to get even more excited and believing in this Russian team. How much of a run do you see them making? Can they get past either Croatia or Denmark when the time comes?
I don't believe they can. Listen, this just tells you what it's like for the home team to have the crowd with them, the nation with them. It can push you into things that you don't even know you have. That's what this Russian team did today. Defensively, I've never seen a team look so cool and calm under so much pressure. It wasn't like they had to throw bodies in front of the ball or last-minute ditch tackles or desperate defending. It was just organised and calm, and they got the job done, and then they won on penalties.
All right, thanks so much to Stevie Nicol. We will definitely be continuing to talk about this absolute flop from Spain and Russia advancing to the quarterfinals. Make sure to catch our show ESPN FC later on today on ESPN+. World Cup predictor time with Stevie Nicol. But if it's one thing we know, that this World Cup is far from predictable. But who cares? We're gonna give it a go for the big games now coming up, Stevie, on Monday. Brazil, Mexico.
Very tough to see past Brazil. For me, Mexico's only chance is if they can reproduce the type of performance they gave against Germany in the first game. But even then, Brazil's just too strong. You got to go for Brazil.
Brazil definitely look like they're coming into their own now, but like I said, not very predictable. However, I think this might be a challenge a little too big for Mexico. So I'm going to go with Brazil also because I've picked them to win it all. So we'll see. Belgium, Japan.
Again, Japan are very fortunate to have got to this stage. They did get through the back door pretty much with the yellow card.
Fair player points.
Yes. They haven't really produced an awful lot. It's tough to see them getting anything at all, even extra time. Belgium, just far too good. Far too good. This is a one-way traffic. This is going to be.
I think this one should be pretty straightforward, and I am going with Belgium. Sweden, Switzerland. This could be a very good matchup.
Very good. I'm not so sure.
Well, tough to pick, rather.
Not exactly pushing the boat out. They're very, very safe, but Sweden for me will just out-muscle them the way they did Mexico. I thought they were powerful and strong. They did throw some good football in amongst it as well. So for me, it's Sweden over Switzerland.
Sweetie, who am I to disagree with you? I'm going with Sweden as well.
Right.
Colombia, England. Here's a juicy one for you because I know how much you love choosing England.
Oh, jeez. Listen, I have to go with my head, and I think England are going to win this game. And it really is down to one very, very small or very big reason, depending on how you look at this guy, James Rodriguez. I don't think there's any way that this guy's fit for this game. And so far in this World Cup, without James, Colombia just haven't been that good.
Yeah.
England, plenty of firepower. Harry Kane scoring goals for fun. Kills me to say it, but I think England are going to take this one.
See, my head is telling me England for sure, but I do love Colombia, and I have to find something to disagree with you on, Stevie, because we have to see where that dinner goes. So I'm going to go with Los Cafeteros in this one. I'll see that there's a lot of turmoil facing them back home in the media and whatnot, with or without James Rodriguez. So we'll see, and hopefully they do manage to get that together, because that's unnecessary. That's one thing that they don't need. Thanks so much to Stevie Nicol. We'll continue trying our hand at predicting all these World Cup fixtures, and you can take part in it too at ESPN FC.
Welcome into Extra Time. We'll start, shall we, with a bit of who wore it best? Craig Burley or Chicharito?
Oh, if Craig's teeth were out, for sure, Craig.
No, but and then Craig has his eyebrows as well.
No, that's Vaseline.
Beautiful.
That's the sweat of the heat.
The sweat of the heat.
Did that come out right? I mean, his looks like a tennis ball. At least mine was like spiked up a little.
When is Chicharito done that? Is that a long time ago?
He did it yesterday.
Wow.
That's yesterday.
That was a wrong decision.
Talk about drawing attention to yourself against Brazil.
Chicharito.
When did you do yours?
Before the last game against Morocco.
Is that when you got sent off?
Yes.
Good.
I was 25. Give me some space.
I think
Wasn't thinking straight in those
No,
days.
it's...
and I think you win.
I think I think his is better. I think yours is better, Craig. Yeah, I do.
Craig's a good-looking guy.
Oh, no, don't say
You're
that.
starting to worry me.
Chicharito
Things
doesn't look all that
things
great.
not right at home.
Piqué and Ramos
What's
were
happened?
both hauled down at a corner and no penalty was given. Why isn't VAR picking this up?
Well, VAR did pick it up, didn't he? But he let the referee decide whether it was a clear and obvious mistake, and it wasn't. He decided in his opinion that it wasn't. It was just a bit of both of them are pulling each other's shirts, maybe one more than the other. But the referee decided it wasn't clear and obvious, so we left it alone.
What do you think, right, Cole?
Sorry, what was it?
Why? Where are you thinking? You're thinking,
Still thinking about the hair.
That's my 25-year-old day.
Actually, if I'm being truthfully honest, there might be some golf.
Isn't Molinari like 100 shots ahead?
Eduardo Molinari's doing quite well on my phone.
Francesco, not Eduardo.
Francesco.
Me. That bleach ran into the
Stop talking to me. I'm trying to concentrate on the golf.
So, what do you think? Penalty or not? Ramos and Piqué.
Piqué and Ramos near the end
Late
of
on,
the game.
extra time.
No, I don't
Spain,
think so.
Spain, Russia, no? No, what? Take us through why you didn't think it.
Because we're all at it.
Yeah.
Defenders, attackers. Ramos and Piqué would be what? 6 penalties a game every time they played. That's what they do at the other end.
First
Did
of
you
all-
think it was a penalty?
No.
Right.
Ramos.
Can I get back to the
No,
golf?
I'm just going to keep bugging you.
Ramos engaged the holding first.
Right.
The PK one is a little bit more of a question mark whether or not he was actually pulling him. I think if you're going to call a penalty there, there'd probably have been about 10 more penalties this tournament. Considering there's been a lot
if
worse
it was at the
tackles
other end.
It
since
had,
the
it had to be more.
Well,
It had to be more severe than that, like we've seen it in this World Cup. You know, it has to be more severe than that.
I have to say, my 13-year-old is watching the game with me, right? And this happens, and they don't go to VAR, and he's yelling, "Go to VAR! Go to VAR! Why do you have this system? Go to VAR!" And it's like, of course it's Russia. Something's gonna happen in Russia. And I'm
You're
like,
13-year-old.
I'm like, whoa, buddy, you gotta stop watching the news.
Yeah. It's conspiracy theorists.
Calm down.
Which club do you see Kasper Schmeichel at next season?
Leicester.
Leicester. Yeah. Would you want him at Liverpool, mate?
Nope.
Why not?
I don't think he's good enough.
Really? Definitive.
You asked him a question.
I know.
I'm sorry, shall I be a bit more vague?
No, I liked it. No, I liked it. That was very...
Because he normally says why at this point.
No, I won't say why. Did Spain miss Morata or Sergio Roberto today?
Well, possibly they could have missed Morata, but he's not in great form. Sergio Roberto, no, not at all. Not in the position he plays. I don't think so. I think they miss, you know, a number 9 of real quality, which they've had in the past. But this is just the cycle of Spain, where they're blessed with lots of ball-playing midfielders, and apart from Diego Costa, no real out-and-out tough centre forward.
They miss David Villa at his best. Fernando Torres at his best.
Yeah.
That's the sort of player that they miss.
Have the doubters of a 48-team World Cup been silenced by all the upsets and nail-biters of this tournament? You're a doubter.
Correct. And no.
Why not?
Why?
Well, because all of the apparent underdogs have done pretty well.
Yes, but the other underdogs that haven't made it are
The
worse.
under.
The other
They're
underdogs,
they're
like the Panamas and no.
I don't think
Panama
48
was
would
there.
be great.
No, exactly, but the gap was clear, wasn't it? What do you think?
Yeah,
Where do you
no,
stand on the old 48 tournament?
Happy it's here.
Oh yeah, it's here, isn't it?
Listen, I think that's probably too many.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, just because the game has grown and it has become more global, and there are countries now that used to just get crushed and not be able to compete can now compete because they understand the game a little bit better, know how to organize defensively, know how to put people behind the ball, and if you're committed, you can come out with a result. But for the quality of the games and the entertainment value, I think it's just probably too many.
Will Modric be taking the penalties in his next game, considering the horror he had today? Rakitic, anybody? Well, he'd score on the shoot.
Well, Ronaldo misses all the time and still takes them, doesn't he? I think it's probably a personal decision. If Luka Modric wants to take him, he scored early on in the tournament, missed today, scored again. So if he wants to take them, I presume he can carry on taking them.
What's your penalty technique, Mac? Did you take any big penalties?
No, I didn't actually. The centre forwards always took the penalties in the teams I was in.
Yeah.
And they were rather good at it, so we just left it to them. It was always a centre forward thing because they wanted to get their goal tally up.
Right.
But my technique would be low to the left. Yeah.
That's
With a bit of swerve on it, low to the left.
Give him the eyes. Give him the eyes. Send him
Curling
away.
away from the goalkeeper all the time into the side netting.
Craig Davis had a first Premier League hat-trick, was it not, of penalties, but he missed the third one? Yeah.
Never been done.
Wow.
Was it Aguero had 3 a couple of years ago and missed?
Yes.
I think
I think
Steven
Gerrard's the other
same,
one.
Yeah,
Davis.
at Old Trafford, yeah, and missed, yeah.
Brian, did you do any...
Missed the film.
do any
I'm the
praise?
same, I went that way.
Yeah.
Normally I went the other way.
Trouble is, you get to
I
the
just
third
went
one, and it is like the Modric today, it gets in your head
Right.
with the bluff and the goalkeeper.
Okay.
The
Ali?
damage just gets in your head.
Tens?
No, that wasn't my thing.
Too far out.
A lot of things were not my thing.
Too far out.
Yes, that's not my range. Yes, that is
You have
fair
to remember
point.
the penalty spot, but it's closer. Molinari's 21 under, by the way.
Oh, that's good to know. We'll end the show, shall we? Just admiring that beautiful picture. Just a reminder.
See why she married me?
That's a questionable decision.
Did you have Vaseline in your eyebrows?
Get that off.
Right. He does look like a tennis ball. That's
Yeah, Chicharito's.
A new one.
yeah.
The old Wimbledon ones.
Yeah.
Remember?
Right. Anyway, that's it. We're done. We'll be back tomorrow, of course, talking a bit of Brazil, Mexico, and looking ahead to Colombia, England.
I don't think James is going to be fit. I'm interested to see what Southgate's team will be. I kind of think it might not be too far from the team he played in the first game, whether Sterling comes back in or not. What are you laughing at?
Nothing.
What do you want me to say?
No, nothing. I'm just.
But I tell you what, write off Colombia at your peril.
Sure. Yeah.
Write them off at your. James or not.
I think what we've seen so far, and we've seen France and Uruguay qualify on the other side of the bracket, and we've seen Russia and Croatia play today. Yeah. That other side of the bracket, France and Uruguay were far stronger than the two teams that have qualified today. Sure. Regardless of whether England get through, this side of the bracket, then you've got Sweden, Switzerland and England, Colombia. This side's easier than the other side. I don't care what you say.
But from an Englishman, you're taking.
So if you're an Englishman and you've seen Croatia today and Russia, and you think, if we beat Colombia, we've got another European side, then we've got Croatia or Russia.
Yeah.
You, of course, you'd take it all day long, wouldn't you?
I got to be honest, though. Colombia can also look at this
Yeah,
and say,
no,
hey, it's
Alex,
opened up
of
for
course.
us as well. I understand that there is some English love here, but I got to say, Colombia looks at it and said,
and Sweden will look at it. Sweden will look at it and think, oh, we've got a chance as well. Of course they will. All the teams on that side of the bracket will look at and think, you know what? There's nothing really to scare us.
The English bookmakers are excited, though. England third favourites to win the world. This is a team, remember, don't get excited about. Don't get your hopes up. That was rhetoric at the start of the tournament.
Take more money off the English public.
11-2 to win the World Cup. Colombia, by the way, 18-1.
hey!